beginning to look a lot like Christmas. When you hear the word Christmas, what's the first thing that pops into your head?
Do you celebrate Christmas? Maybe at home with your family, or maybe at school. Or do you celebrate something else that's a bit like Christmas, where people come together, where light is important, and where you share special food together? Now, for many people, Christmas is very important. But I wonder, why do we celebrate Christmas? Do you know? Well, if you said because of the birth of Jesus, you're right. Christmas is a Christian festival, and Christians celebrate Christmas because they celebrate the birth of Jesus. They believe that he was the Son of God. Now today we're going to learn about the story of the birth of Jesus, the story why we celebrate Christmas. I wonder if you remember anything from the story. Maybe you've heard it before. Do you know any of these characters? Do you know who these people are? And the tiny little baby, do you know its name? Do you know who these people are over here? And do you know who these people are? Why don't you take a moment and pause the video and talk with your talking partner. What do you remember of the Christmas story? And when you're ready, you can press start again and we'll continue the lesson. Well done if you remembered some of the people in the Christmas story. Now, Christians believe that this story is a true story, and it comes from their special book, the Bible. I'm going to tell you the story of Christmas with the help of a story from a book. This book is called The Christmas Promise, and it was written by Alison Mitchell and published by the Good Book Company. Now, in this story, you may want to join in when there's an angel. When there's an angel in the story, we can hear swoosh. And you can join in by saying swoosh and making an action. Are you ready? Here we go. A long, long time ago, so long that it's hard to imagine, God promised a new king. He wasn't any ordinary king like the ones we see in TV or in books. He would be different. He would be a new king, a rescuing king, and a forever king. And do you know what? One precious night, God kept his Christmas promise. Would you like to know how he did it? The Christmas story starts with an angel. Whoosh! He came from God to see Mary. The angel had a special message. Mary, you're going to have a baby. He will be a special baby. God promises that your baby is going to be a king. Not for a little time, but forever and ever. He will be the forever king. Mary was going to marry Joseph. So God sent another angel. Whoosh! He came to see Joseph. The angel had a special message. Mary's going to have a very special baby, the angel said to Joseph. Her baby is going to be the king, and he will rescue his people. He will be a rescuing king. God had promised that this new king would be born in a little city called Bethlehem. And that's where Mary and Joseph went. But Bethlehem was very busy with lots and lots and lots of people. So when the baby was born, he had to sleep in a manger instead of a bed. All the other mangers in Bethlehem held food for hungry animals to munch. But this manger held a tiny baby. The shepherds in the fields had such a surprise. It was quiet and dark, and the sheep were snoozing when, whoosh! an angel popped into the sky. Now the sky was bright and the shepherds were so scared. But the angel had a special message for them. Don't be afraid. I have wonderful good news for you, the angel said. God's chosen king has been born tonight. He is going to rescue his people, just as God had promised. He will be the rescuing king. Then lots and lots of other excited angels joined in to celebrate. The shepherds were really excited. They went rushing to see the new king. And there he was, lying in a manger, just as the angel had said. But they weren't the only ones who had heard the good news about the promised king. Some wise man living far away had also been sent a message. It was quiet and dark, and they were watching the stars. When, whoosh, a new star popped into the sky. The star had a special message. The wise man knew what it meant. A very special king had been born. The king for all God's people. This child was the promised new king. The wise men were so excited. So they went on a long journey to see the new king. And there he was, just as the star had shown them. Everything God promised came true. There are lots and lots of different kings in the world. But God sent the greatest king of all. He sent a new king, a rescuing king, a forever king. And do you know what this king's name is? His name is Jesus. And that is the story of Christmas.
Wow, what a story. Did you know that Jesus was such a special baby? Christians believe he was a king. Not a king who sits on a throne in a palace and wears a crown, but a new kind of king who would help people to love each other and to love God. Jesus did many special things in his life, and he helped many people. And Christians believe he still helps people today and always will. They believe he is a forever king.
Now I have a few questions about the story for you. If you want, you can pause the video every time to discuss with your talking partner what the answer might be. Now, first of all, have a think about the beginning of the story. Think about Mary and Joseph. And when the angel came to tell them the good news about the baby they were going to have. I wonder how Mary and Joseph felt. What do you think? How did Mary and Joseph feel when they heard the news that they were going to be parents of a very special baby? Now it says in the Bible that Joseph and Mary were surprised and a little bit afraid when they saw the angel. They were also worried when they heard the news that they were going to be parents of this special baby. But they were also happy that God had chosen them for this very special job, to be Jesus' parents. Now it says in the story that Joseph and Mary had to travel from Nazareth, where they lived, to Bethlehem. I wonder why. Because the distance from Nazareth to Bethlehem is about 90 miles. That would be if we would travel all the way from Watford to Brighton, to the south coast. It's a long journey because in those days people didn't have cars. So they would have to walk, or maybe they had a donkey to ride on. So why do you think they had to go to Bethlehem? I'll give you some options. Was it 1, because the emperor told them to go there? Was it 2, because their family was from Bethlehem? Or was it 3, that it was God's plan for them to go to Bethlehem? What do you think? Well, it says in the Bible that in those days, the Emperor Caesar Augustus wanted to count everybody. He wanted to know how powerful he was. So he told people that they had to go and register in the town where they were from. And Joseph was from the family of David, who came from Bethlehem. So they had to go to Bethlehem to be registered there. So answer 1 and 2 are right. But the third answer is also right, because it was part of God's plan that Jesus would be born in Bethlehem, so that the promise that this special king would come from Bethlehem would come true. Now in Bethlehem it was very busy, and Joseph and Mary couldn't find a place to stay. So it says in the Bible that when Jesus was born, he was laid in a manger. Do you know what a manger is? A manger is a feeding trough for animals. It's where the animals eat from. Now, is that the place where you would expect a newborn baby to sleep in? Is that the place where you would expect a newborn king? Christians believe that the way Jesus came into the world showed that he wanted to be a king who lived among the people, to care for them and to show them God's love. Not like the harsh kings in those days who ruled the people harshly. Jesus had some very special visitors who did realize how special Jesus was. First of all, the shepherds came to visit Jesus after a visit from the angel who told them about the birth of this special baby. I wonder, how did the shepherds feel when they saw the angel and heard the news of Jesus' birth? What do you think? Now, shepherds were rough and dirty people, living mostly outside in the fields, looking after their sheep. They might even have been a little bit smelly. But God chose them to come and see this special baby, because Jesus had come for everyone.
And then we learned about the wise men, star watchers. The wise men came from countries far away, and they made a very long journey to come and visit baby Jesus. They also brought special presents. I wonder what kind of present you might give to a newborn baby. Why don't you tell each other now? The wise men didn't bring blankets or toys for the baby. They brought some very expensive gifts: gold, a perfume called frankincense, and another perfume called myrrh. These were very special presents, only given to very special people.
Now I have one more question for you. What do you think is special about the Christmas story? Why don't you take a moment and tell your talking partner something that you thought is rather special in the Christmas story? Now there are many special things in the Christmas story. There's angels that bring special messages to the people from God. There's the wise man who followed the star. Then there's special presents for a king. But the most special thing in the Christmas story is the baby himself. Baby Jesus. Christians believe that Jesus is the Son of God. That Jesus came into the world to help people to be friends with God. For Christians, celebrating the birth of Jesus is the most important thing at Christmas. They believe that Jesus is God's special gift to the world. We have supplied some activity sheets on our website that you could do. Maybe you could draw a storyboard of the story of Christmas and tell in your own words and with your own drawings about the story of Jesus' birth. Your teacher can tell you more about that. Now all is left for me to say is, if you celebrate Christmas, have a wonderful Christmas. And I'll see you next time for a lesson from the Watford Schools Trust. Bye!